Where did Taylor go? There she is. I want to assure you that we remembered to pray for you, and we even did it as a congregation last week as you were in Germany. 25 of us were in Germany last week, not me, but if you were in Germany on the Germany trip, will you raise your hand? Wow, thank you for overcoming your jet lag to be with us this morning. I hope you had a great trip. We did remember to pray for you. However, Taylor, I forgot to write a children's sermon while you were gone, so I promised all the children ice cream as a way of making them, what? Yes, you're going to do that. So, kids, see Taylor. So I didn't have a chance to go to Germany, but I did have a chance this week to do something that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. Something that I've always wanted to do, and I was so excited to be able to do it. I went to the NFL draft on Thursday night for the first round. And I just knew it was going to be a great night when I was walking in, because as I was walking in, there was a giant screen right above the doors at AT&T, the Cowboy Stadium, and guess who was on the screen? Me. And I thought, well, this is just going to be a great night. And so if you don't know what the NFL draft is, it is where the college players get selected to be on pro teams. And that's something I've always kind of enjoyed watching. I enjoy watching college football and kind of seeing which guys I think are going to be good pros. And so it's something that I've always enjoyed watching. And so let me tell you how exciting this night was. I came in and I sat in the seat and I waited for about 45 minutes. And a guy came up and stood at a podium and said someone's name that was on a card. He just read his name. And 10 minutes later, he did it again. And 10 minutes later, he did it again. For 3.5 hours, that same guy walked up to the podium and took out a card and read somebody's name. And it was the most fun I've had in a long time. The nachos might have helped, but now, some of you hear this and think, wow, that sounds like a great time. Who thinks that sounds like a great time? Right? There's like a dozen of us, right? Maybe more. And then some of us hear that and think, I'd rather watch paint dry. Anybody? Yeah, okay. For those of you who don't understand how much fun I had, I doubt I could ever explain it to you. I doubt I could ever explain it to you. But I will say this. Even though I can't explain the joyfulness of Thursday night, I can explain my faith. I can explain my faith to you and to anyone else, and I can do it thanks to the text from today in 9 words. I can explain my faith to you in 9 words. Actually, I can do it in 7, because we're going to use the same word 3 times. 9 words that explain my faith. It is finished, He is risen, and God is love. It is finished, He is risen, God is love. The word is said 3 times in there. I want to talk about is for a second, because is can be used in a number of different ways. In the English language, we use is a number of different ways. The first, we use it as a metaphor, right? We say someone is something, or something is something. Like I could say, my wife is a fox. And y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You're like, he's not married to like a little canine wild animal. No, you know exactly what I'm saying. Or I could say, that Paul Harrington is a fox. And you'd be like, oh, I know what you mean. Can't trust that guy. And I'll tell you, you can't. Just kidding. But then there's a way of, the word is could be used for a temporary truth. A temporary truth. Something that is true now that may not be true later. Like I could say, Diane is tired this morning because she just got on and she flew across the world. I don't know if you're tired or not, but I'm just using it as an example. But Diane could go home and take a nap and wake up later this afternoon, and she is no longer tired. So there's a temporary truth. But then we can use the word is to explain a permanent truth. A permanent truth. And when we say it is finished, when we talk about what Jesus did on the cross, we are talking about a permanent truth. A permanent truth. The sins of the world are forgiven is a permanent truth. It is a permanent truth. The idea of those sins of the world being forgiven and even forgotten, as we heard a couple weeks ago, that they are the sins of the world. God does not see them anymore. It's not as if we believe that God one day is going to wake up and say, man, thousands of years ago, I used to remember people's sins, and that was fun. I think I'm going to start doing that again. No, it's a permanent truth. It is finished. The one thing I remember about Greek class is that in the tense that this was written in Greek, it should be translated as it is finished and continues to remain finished until this day. It is a permanent truth, but it's more than just the forgiveness of sins that happened on the cross. The ancient Jewish people believed that God lived in a temple and behind a curtain in a temple. And that's where God was. But Jesus in the text today says, I'm going to abide in you and you in me. Everywhere you go, I will be there. I will be everywhere. And so when Jesus dies in the book of Matthew, it says that curtain was ripped into two. That it is finished. God is released. God is unleashed. God is everywhere. Everywhere that we are, God is. But more than that, it opens up the gates to the kingdom of heaven to everybody. That's what the story about the Ethiopian eunuch is all about, is that the eunuch traveled to Jerusalem wanting to be part of this religious experience, and he couldn't be a part of it because he was a eunuch. He was told that, I'm sorry, you can only come this far as part of your faith, but you cannot come into the temple. You cannot do the things that we can do. And so the eunuch just really is trying to understand faith, trying to understand what it means to believe, and he's told, I'm sorry, but this isn't for you. To which Philip says, oh, let me tell you about Jesus. This is for you. Let's stop and baptize you in this puddle, because this is for you. It is finished. He is risen is a permanent truth. Jesus is victorious over death. That is a permanent truth. It's not like that was round one. And in round two, death fought back. And at the end of the fight, death won. When Jesus rose from the dead, when Jesus was victorious over death, that was an eternal thing. Death is defeated permanently. It's over. That war is over. He is risen as a permanent truth. And God is love. God is love. We can talk about how other people are kind. Lisa is kind. Taylor is generous. But there may be days where Lisa's not that kind. There may be days where Lisa's not that generous. Not because they're not good people, but they just might be, we're all certain things at certain times to certain people. But when we're talking about God is love, we are not describing what God is like. We are saying who God is. This is who God is. Love is not something God does. Love is who God is. It is a permanent truth. A permanent truth. And because that is true, the text tells us what? That we should not fear. There is no reason to fear because perfect love casts out fear. 9 words that explains what we believe at Abiding Grace Lutheran Church. 9 words that explains why we are here. 9 words that explain why we do everything that we do. We are now coming to the close of our the stewardship campaign. And Ray's going to talk a little bit more about that. And though you might think, well, where are we going from here? What is the vision for our church going into the future? What is the plan? And we have plans, and we have policies and all these things, and we can talk about those. But it all starts and ends with 9 words. It is finished, He is risen, God is love. Our plan is to proclaim those 9 words. As far into the future as each of us will go on this earth. I was sitting next to my wife watching this beautiful anthem this morning, and I couldn't help but just seeing the children and the adults and the young and the not as young up here singing, thinking how beautiful this is and what a vision of the kingdom this is. What a vision of, and I thought to myself, you know, when the young are older, how neat it would be to see them singing next to their grandchildren. Because that is why we are here. That is what we are called to do. Verse 30 of our psalm today. Future generations will be told about the Lord and proclaim his deliverance to a people yet unborn, saying that he has done it. He has done it. It is finished. He is risen. God is love. Thanks be to God. Amen.